Hello, my name is Christine Torres, and I am the Assistant Director for the Pioneer Center for Student Excellence. Thank you for joining our workshop today. Our workshop today will be Planning for Success Goal Setting. The first activity we're going to do is going to be centered around a SWOT analysis. A SWOT analysis is traditionally used in business and industry, but because it is so simple to use and understand, we're going to use this for you as students today. What we're going to do with this is going to help us plan for success by building your strengths. So this is why we use a SWOT analysis. It will build your strengths, minimize your weaknesses, seize opportunities, and we're going to have some discussion about that in case there's some opportunities you don't know how to move forward with, and that could be some dialogue that we have today, and then how to counteract some threats that you might be facing right now. So let's get started. What I need everybody to do first is take out a sheet of paper, and what I need you to do is divide your sheet of paper into 4 squares. Nothing simple, nothing fancy. You don't need a ruler, just draw a line going up and down and a line going side to side. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to label our chart with the words strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. They each go in a corner. So label your chart with strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. I want you to notice that your strengths and your weaknesses are both internal. So you might want to write internal on your chart as well. So one side of our chart is internal. The other side of our chart is external, and that would be our opportunities and our threats. We're going to start off by filling out this chart in the section of strength and weaknesses. Remember, I want you to really take a critical look at why you're here today, what areas you need support in. You're not going to have to share this. You don't have to show this to anybody. If you choose to participate in the discussions a little bit later, perfectly fine. But be honest with yourself. What are your strengths and what are your weaknesses? We're going to spend a few more minutes, or just about a minute or so, doing that. It's not going to be all encompassed. You're going to find things later. You're going to move things later. That's fine. This is just giving us a base to start. For your strengths, try to think about what you're good at. What skills do you have that will assist you to be successful in this semester? What do you do better than anyone else? And what do others see as your strengths? Your weaknesses, think about what skills you lack that may hinder your performance in a course, in an activity. You also want to look at what personal strengths, what personal traits do you have that may hinder your success? Something personal. Then maybe you want to also look at what do others see as your weaknesses? So take a few minutes now. What we're doing is we've created a chart on a blank piece of paper. It should look like this. And you're going to label it with strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Your strengths and weaknesses come internally, and your opportunities and threats are external. We can get some nods, some thumbs up, some reactions, just kind of figure out where we're at, and then we can move forward. We're not going to catch everything today, right now, but this is a process I want to show you how to do. So when you ever feel like you need to do another one moving forward, you'll have an idea of how to create one of these, okay? Give it about another minute or so to wrap up. So we're just listing a few strengths and a few weaknesses. The next area we're going to move into is our threats. This is external. This is negative on our performance. So list any threats that you feel are impacting you or will impact you or have the potential of impacting you this semester. So what do you see as your threats for completing this semester? What is your greatest challenge from your external factors to be successful? Like, what are those challenges? Sometimes this could be a little challenging because we really don't know, you know, it's just something you've always done and you don't feel like it's really a threat, but it might decrease your focus. It might be something that interferes with your studying. What we're going to do on the next slide is kind of look at how we can use our strengths, our weaknesses, and our threats to create opportunities to fill in this top portion of the box, okay? The examples I have are basic. They're not general. It's not a particular student. It's not myself. They're just something that we can work from. You might be able to relate to some of these strengths, these weaknesses, these threats, or they might remind you of some things you missed when you created your list. For strengths, I've listed a couple of things. We're going to say we're a person who loves to learn, who loves to get along with others, so you might excel at socializing. You're very determined and you participate in class. If we look at our weaknesses, we can say our weaknesses are asking for help, reading, staying focused, and maybe some procrastination. Does anybody have anything they'd like to share? And you can drop it in the comment section, or you can take your mic off and just any strengths or weaknesses that you've kind of figured out about yourself over the course of your study.
Hi, Amy here.
Hey, Amy.
For me, a weakness that I have it's internal is negative self-talk.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a big one for me.
Yes, and that is something at the end of the presentation, we're going to talk about that motivation piece, because that's very important. And you're not the only one. You know, you were the only brave one to disclose it today. But internally, we all go through this. The negative self-talk, how am I going to do this? Why am I doing this? Why am I here? Let's turn that into an opportunity. Let's look at what some opportunities are. If we just look at the examples that I had, if we go with what Amy shared and say the negative self-talk, well, one of the opportunities here, this third one, is to schedule an appointment with an academic coach, a counselor within our CAPS department, an advisor. So even though we perceived the negative self-talk as a weakness, how are we going to make this as an opportunity to move forward? This is an eye-opening experience for us to be able to sit and talk about these things and not necessarily just say, yeah, that's the way I've always been. You know, I've always struggled with being able to read. I've always struggled with procrastination. You are here for a purpose because you want to learn and you want to change these behaviors, these habits, these internal and external factors. So maybe one of your opportunities is to practice positive self-talk, to reach out to an academic coach like myself to help you with the skills that you may need to continue this throughout the semester. Just somebody in your corner to root you on and say, you got this, you did great. If you're a person who your strength is you just love to learn, well, if you didn't write that as a strength today, you're here today. So that's testament there that you want to learn something different. You want to be something different. You want to figure out something that's going to help you be successful this semester. So you attended a workshop. If your professors are offering review sessions, if you have peer study groups, if you have peer mentors, maybe an opportunity would be to meet them, to attend office hours. So that's another example of an opportunity. If you get along well with others, if you're just really social and you have no problem, turning a stranger into a friend, maybe you want to make a commitment to make a friend in each class. If you make a friend in each class, you then have somebody that you can reach out to in the event that you miss a class, that you were late to a class, that you didn't pick up something in your notes, that you have questions about. So that's an opportunity. If you're determined, another one is to say, if I put my mind to it, I'm going to do it. But if you have a weakness about asking for help, then how do we create both of that strength and that weakness to create an opportunity? It's physically setting an appointment and being specific to say, I'm going to set an appointment with an academic coach before my first test and know when that test date is, January 25th, whatever that's going to be. If we continue looking at the internal side and we're looking at weaknesses, if asking for help is one of the things that you have a weakness at doing, let's figure out what an opportunity can be for that for you. If reading is one of the areas that you struggle with and you feel that it's a weakness, it's keeping you from succeeding, then maybe you want to break up your assignments into manageable parts. So maybe, this would be normal, if you've got to read 100 pages in one day after working or after attending class, that's not realistic enough. What you want to do is break up your readings and read at a time of day that you feel you're going to be more attentive. So if you're a morning person, you want to break up your readings and try doing a section of that in the morning. So now it's not that you're procrastinating because you don't want to read, you're now reading in more manageable chunks. So your opportunities are actually strategies to help you combat your weaknesses and your threats. If procrastination is one of your weaknesses and one of your threats is studying at home, then we need to schedule some time to be on campus. We need to schedule some time to work around maybe other people's schedules that are at home. If you have children, if you have others in the house, and they get home by 3 o'clock, then that means you need to do your studying before 3 o'clock so that you are taking advantage of that time where you have less distractions. If your internet is unstable at home, we want to prioritize what we're doing at home, and maybe when you're on campus, an opportunity might be to save or to print information that you're going to need to take home with you. If you're going to be taking a quiz or an exam, you probably don't want to do that at home if your internet is scheduled, and an opportunity would be take all tests on campus. Reserve a study room on campus to complete your quizzes. Whatever that's going to look like, that's how you're going to get past these threats and these weaknesses. If social media is one of your distractions, there are various apps that you can download on your phone that keep you from opening additional windows or monitor how much time you have. You can make a commitment to silencing your phone, putting it in your backpack, putting it on airplane mode, whatever that's going to be. I've had students who have uninstalled different applications on their phones so that they are not prone to checking those social medias. You can turn off your notifications, so then only the notifications that you really need are coming through, and you don't have a notification that's unnecessary at the time. Does anybody want to talk through any strengths, weaknesses, threats, or opportunities that they've written down for themselves? Again, you can drop it in the chat. You can take the comment, you can write it in the comment button or message me individually or take yourself off of mute.
This is Jennifer. One of my strengths / weakness is overachiever and perfectionist. I want everything to be perfect, and that's not working.
Yes, perfectionism and overachievers, which, I mean, to me, everybody at Texas Women's University is a high achiever, right? You all have to own up to that. I got here for a reason. I'm here for a purpose. This is what I'm going to do. But when does perfection get in the way of you meeting that goal? You have to figure out, why are you being perfect and what are you being perfect about? If it is that your layout has to look a certain way and you can't go past this margin, this font, that's when you would say, let me get all the content out and I'm only going to spend 15 minutes at the end cleaning it up. Figure out why you're being that perfectionist, what area it's in, and then you want to balance the pros and the cons. Okay, if it is that you have to have an image attached to every vocabulary word because you want to know what it is, if that's something you need to continue to be successful, you just have to allow more time to do it, or pick those words that are going to be harder for you to memorize instead of doing all of them. So you kind of have to balance it. You have to find what that balance is. But that perfection is what got you here, and it's what's going to continue to keep you here. We just got to figure out what that balance is. Anyone else?
I have something. This is Jennifer Commodore.
Hey, Jennifer.
So, hi. I noticed, well, I've been noticing that my vision is getting blurry when I really want to read. I can see the words, but I can't really see them. So today it got really bad, and I said, you know, I'm just going to make this appointment, and I'm able to get in today, get my eye examined. So
Yes.
that helps. But then I noticed I'm in the lounge of where I reside right now, and I'm getting a lot more done than being. I have a study office in my apartment, but you know, when you're at home, you get busy. Okay, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna take a break. I'm gonna do this, and I'm just so busy. I don't even know what happened. I'm like, the time has just flown by. I didn't even finish reading the chapter. So I'll be down in the lounge, one of the lounge areas where I live. So that helps.
So one of the things is structure. So what I'm hearing you say is kind of structure. What we have to do is we have to write down everything you're responsible for. If you're a mom, if you're a provider, if you're a bus driver, you know, if you've got to take somebody to school, you need to write all that down so that then you can work your study schedule around that. If you know that you have to go grocery shopping, do your laundry, iron your uniforms, whatever that may be, that needs to happen in a structured time, just like you go to class in a structured time. So if your school week starts Monday through Thursday, Thursday afternoon, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, pick a day to get all this out the way. So it doesn't feel like you're blending everything. It's like, I just washed clothes, but no, they were in the washer. No, they're in the dryer now, but I'm doing this in between my quizzes and my tests. That's distraction. We need to pull that away and find a structured environment and a time and day to be able to do that. So if you schedule yourself to say, I'm going to knock out all my laundry, groceries, everything I need to do on the weekend, on Saturdays, we're being specific and we're eliminating the distractions during the week. One of the things you pointed out, Jennifer, is that you study in different places and you notice the productivity increase or decrease. That's something to keep in mind. So for one of your threats, it's going to be studying in that one area that you don't feel as productive. So one of your opportunities is going to be to read in a specific area, to do these things so that you can combat threats, so that we're not stuck in the same cycle of, I've been here all day and I haven't finished or accomplished much. Okay. So we're not done, but this is the first part. So just wrapping up the SWOT analysis. Everything you've created today is an opportunity for you to reflect, to go back and make some of these changes and follow through with them. This is going to help you build on your strengths. Okay. It's going to help you minimize your weaknesses, seize your opportunities, and counteract your threats. This is an honest look at yourself and what you can do to continue moving forward. So if there's some more things you want to add, if you have questions about like, well, I still struggle with this and I don't know how to kind of get through this, schedule an appointment with an academic coach so we can help you work through this, okay? The next part of our presentation is goal setting. So we're actually going to be talking about goal setting, how to set one, and then how to stay accountable for it. So again, feel free to use the comments, the reaction buttons, because we have a couple of questions. And so, and we heard this earlier. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. So let me know if any of this describes you. You work hard, and yet you don't seem to get the results you want. You always feel like you're pressed for time, but don't get as much done. You don't get as much done as others around you. You're busy all day, but then you need to pull an all-nighter to finish something you couldn't complete during the day. Or maybe the day or the week, it feels like it just slipped by you and you really haven't accomplished much. Maybe you've had to miss class, or you've missed some important deadlines, or maybe even both. If you could answer yes to any of those, you would benefit from setting goals. Why is it important to set a goal? It provides clarity. It helps you identify what is important. It helps you gain self-confidence, and it keeps you moving forward. Now, I'm going to use an example. I'm going to say, well, this happened actually. I'm going to lose weight. Well, how am I going to lose weight? What am I going to do to lose weight? What is my target weight? All of this has to be defined so that at the end, when I do lose those couple of pounds or those few pounds that my goal was, I can celebrate because I've accomplished something. So I wanted to share this with you before we actually get started on goal setting. A goal without a plan is just a wish. Everybody has an advising plan, and you know what classes you need to take in order to get that degree at the end. They're specific. That's why you meet with the advisor to make sure that all of this is just in plan so that you can get that degree, so that you can get that certification, that award, whatever it's going to be. So we need to look at that within ourselves as well. How do we turn our wish into a goal? You can't just say you want to be a nurse without having that pathway. You can't just say you want to be a physical therapist without having that pathway defined for you. Let's look at a SMART goal before we actually dive into this. Has anybody worked with the SMART goal, used the SMART goal, or seen this before? We're going to be talking about short-term goals today. But one of the ways that you can ensure that a goal is attainable is through a SMART goal. This does not mean you have to memorize the entire acronym. This has to mean when you do something and say something. If this was myself, if I'm setting a goal, I would say, Christine, really, can you do this? You've only have half a day. You're never going to finish this. These are asking these questions. So part of a SMART goal is that it is specific, it is measurable, it's achievable, realistic, and time-bound. Okay. You'll see some variations of the acronym, but basically this is what it consists of. So creating a goal. There are 3 parts to creating a goal. The first one is identifying what the goal is. You have to be as specific as possible. The more you define what you want to do, the easier it would be to come up with a plan. Then you create a plan. Has to be concrete. We're going back to the SMART goal. It has to be specific. It has to be measurable. It has to be attainable. It has to be realistic. Is this something you can do within the amount of time you want to do this? Then we have to self-evaluate, our final step. What will you do so that you know that you've met this goal? It's a check-in system. It's a form of accountability. So Our next activity is going to be for you to write down a goal you have for this semester. So take a few minutes and then write a goal that you have for yourself this semester. I would love to see the chat or hear some goals if somebody would like to share those.
Mine, it's Amy again. Mine is to pass the NCLEX. I have failed it twice, and so that's a big deal.
Okay, so we're going to get specific today. We're going to get you to it. We're going to get a plan. We're going to be specific, and we're going to hold Amy accountable for following her plan. You ready?
Yes.
Okay. Our next one. I want you to write down how you're going to accomplish your goal. Study more, whatever it's going to be. Just be a couple of bullet points, a couple of thoughts. What are you going to do to accomplish your goal? Finally, how are you going to self-evaluate? Another important aspect of creating a goal in an academic environment is backwards planning. So in Amy's example, I'm assuming you're taking the NCLEX again. What we need to do is figure out how long from today till the next time you have to take the NCLEX you have. And we need to create an outline of everything that needs to be done. And then we need to schedule it within, let's say it's 6 weeks. How are we going to fit this in the next 6 weeks? This backwards planning will need to happen on a separate sheet of paper, not your planner. Once we can figure it out, then you can merge it into your planner, but we need to build the steps for it first. Okay, let's move on. I'm going to use the example of my goal is to get better grades. My plan is to study harder. My self-evaluation will be an improved GPA at the end of the semester. Who else's goal looks similar to kind of what I have here?
Oh yeah, definitely mine. I'm Katrina Baskin, and
Hey, Katrina.
this is definitely my goal, because I've been in the nursing program for about 3 years. I'm part-time, and every class I barely pass, and it's like I put so much effort in it, and I'm much older than all the students. This is my second career, and I thought I knew a lot, but those quizzes, the test exams, the exams grades come through, and it's like, oh, I didn't know. And so that's my goal this semester. I'm almost down to the last, and I'm in pediatrics, and I said, okay, pediatrics class, I definitely can get a B. I need to get a B. I'm tired of barely getting C's. I need to get a B. So that's my goal. I don't know how to do it, but that's my goal.
You're going to do it today because you're going to hold yourself accountable after you create this plan. And if this is what yours looks like, wait till we get to the end, because we're going to continue working on this.
Okay, thank you.
But before we move forward, I want to say congratulations on getting accepted into the program, continuing into the program, and this is where it changes. Today, you start with the positive self-talk.
Okay.
Okay. We start with the positive self-talk, and this is everybody, you know. Yes, I'm in the program. Yes, I've been accepted. We heard some perfectionism earlier. We heard the negative self-talk. This is where it changes for everyone. Yeah. And holding yourself accountable with your SWOT analysis and with your goal is going to be how you get there. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at our goal, we're going to look at our plan, and we're going to look at our self-evaluation, and we're going to combat these threats and these weaknesses to build a plan that's going to continue to get you successful and get you to that ultimate goal. Let's break this down a little bit further. Let's refine our goal. So my goal in my example was to get better grades. Using the SMART method has to be specific, measurable, obtainable, realistic, and time-bound. We're going to change it up and add a couple more action words in there. I will raise my cumulative GPA by the end of the semester. So we're talking in general, whatever classes you're taking. So for Amy that's working on your NCLEX, it's going to be to raise it, to make a certain score, to be able to, whatever that requirement is going to be, you need to fill in the blank. You also need to have a time frame of when you're going to complete this by. Katrina, the class you said you were struggling in or might be a little bit more difficult for you, what class was that?
It's pediatrics.
Okay, for pediatrics. So I will get at least an A or an A or whatever 3.0 in my pediatrics course.
Okay.
Okay. Positive self-talk and a SMART goal, because you can measure it at the end and say, yes, I got an A. But guess what? If you still got that B, it's still okay because you're still in the program.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's look at the SMART goal. Let's refine our original goal to a SMART goal. Is anybody having trouble transitioning from a goal to a SMART goal with whatever you've written down that you want to share?
I do.
Okay.
Okay, so my goal was to complete my DNP project and graduate. I've postponed my graduation for like 2 years now. I only have one semester left, which is this one. But I ended up having 2 babies along the way during that time.
Congratulations.
Balance everything out with the baby, working full time as a nurse practitioner, and coming home and completing this last semester has been a challenge. And so my goal is to graduate and complete my project. But it's so many different things that pulls me away. I'm not able to balance. So I don't know how the SMART goal would.
You're going to need a couple of them. Your long-term goal is to graduate, right? But let's focus in today on the DNP project.
Okay.
So your DNP project is how we're going to be specific. So you might not have this information at hand or might not know it, but you need to know when it's due.
Okay.
Okay. Once you find out when it's due, your SMART goal can be to complete your DNP by a certain day.
Okay.
That's your SMART goal. What you're going to have to do in the background is figure out when it's due, figure out everything that you need to do to accomplish it, set deadlines for yourself, and a check-in system so that you know that you've accomplished it. I also tell students who have major deadlines or big deadlines coming up, move your deadline up by whatever you can afford. If you can afford a week, move it up by a week because life happens. So if your project is due May the 31st, move your deadline up to May 21st.
Okay.
So you have that cushion, but you still have that pressure to finish and to perform. You might want to turn it in. So if it's something that could be proofread by our right side, or you have to send it to your instructor for a final revision, move your deadline up as well. Okay. So that's stuff you have to be in the background. So the other stuff, the balancing, like the academic coaches, we can help you with all that other stuff in collaboration with this. Our goal today is just to focus for Miss Natasha on your DNP. Okay.
Okay.
So we're starting with specific. Now let's refine our goal again. Let's look at our plan. My plan was to study harder. But if I refine it and say, I will go to every class every day, great. If I also say, I'm going to go to class every day prepared, that means I'm going to do my readings before I get to class. I will leave my video on during all my Zoom classes, because maybe procrastination or maybe you tend to lose focus. Maybe that was one of your weaknesses. So by leaving your camera on, you then feel like I'm engaged, I can participate. I will review my notes the day before class instead of right up, 5 minutes before class, but just be prepared. And I'll review my notes as soon as possible after class. There's so much more context that gets related to us as students in the learning environment, in a classroom, in a rotation, in a clinical. Find a time to come back and to add those to your notes. I will attend instructor office hours weekly, as after each test, before each test, whatever that's going to be. Take advantage of that. I will visit the tutoring center weekly. So if one of the areas, say with the NCLEX example, if there's one particular area that you are struggling in the most, how can you put that into a SMART goal? Be more specific with it. I will meet another student in each class. So if I am struggling in a particular class, you have somebody to bounce those ideas off of, to talk with, to collaborate with, to share notes with, to share ideas with, to participate in discussions with. Does anybody need help at this point? Like, I can't figure out how else to plan for my goal. Does anybody want to share something that they've come up with as far as how you're going to do the planning for your goal this semester?
Hi.
Hey.
My name is Zainab.
Hey, Zainab.
So in my degree, I cannot take more than 3 C's through the whole program. So my goal is always to pass my classes with A or B. And I have to achieve that by studying hard, do all my assignments on time, and attend all lectures. And I check on my progress through the semester grades and my final grades in the end of the semester. So this is my process. I keep everything set by planning. I have a planner and I actually plan every single thing that I do daily. And I have like a week ahead planned, and sometimes I have like to compromise my planning through the week, but I have to get everything done. I actually have a toddler. I have also 2 teenagers in high school, but I stay up most of the nights to achieve my goals. So some days I sleep only 2 hours, but I do not delay my homework at all. So this is the way that it helps me to do my great degree in the way that it's supposed to be.
Yes, I've made sacrifices. I think everybody here today has made a sacrifice, for the purpose of their education. I would recommend that one of your plans be to incorporate self-care.
Yes, I'm trying to do that. Yeah.
Okay. So what does Zamba like to do when she's not with the children, when she has free time?
I like to read. I like reading a lot, but not study-wise, reading a novel, reading a book that I like, this way.
Okay, so do you have those books selected? Do you have a library of which to choose from already?
Yes, I have a wish list within my planner, within my yearly planner, because I have I also set in my life long-term goals and the short-term goals within other than the studying.
Perfect. So now the SMART goal, the SMART goal, because it needs to be specific and planning to get to that ultimate goal, would be to carve out some time during your day or during your week to do leisure reading.
Yes.
And that would give you the balance that you're going to need to continue to be successful. And you also led us into the next slide.
Sure.
So when we say self-evaluation, how are we going to check to see that we've met our goal? I will learn how my grade is calculated so that I'm always aware of how I'm doing. So you can create a grade sheet, doesn't have to be nothing fancy. You can use an Excel document, whatever that's going to be. If that information is not available to you through your student account, through your Blackboard, through your Canvas account, what you can do is just say, quizzes are 25% of my grade, and I'm having 1, 2, 3 quizzes. And every time you get a quiz, you write it down and do the quick math to figure out where you're at. Then so for your program, you said that you can't have any C's. So if you get a quiz grade that's low, we're not just going to sit back and with that negative self-talk and say, I gotta see, I'm never going to pass, I'm not going to be successful. We're not going to do that. We're going to say, what do I need to do differently to make my next quiz higher? Okay, so we're going to take advantage of that opportunity. I will get to know the instructors so that I can get their feedback on my process. Checking in with your instructors is an excellent way to be able to do this if you're not keeping track of your scores. Okay, you also have mastery. Some students have assignments online where you can check your mastery when you do your quizzes. That's another way to do self-assessment. So when you're doing your planning, you can say, I will score a mastery level of whatever it is on all my quizzes. This is going to help you stay accountable for passing at the end of that chapter, that next quiz and that next test.
Yes.
Any questions here with the follow-up with how to self-evaluate? So now let's look at our goal. We went from literally 3 sentences to a full page. And this is what I want to see yours to be, and whatever you choose to write down, however you choose to follow this. But I will now raise my cumulative GPA by the end of the semester, implementing these 6 plans. And this is something you can continue adding or editing. The self-evaluation is the part that's going to keep us in check with making sure that we're staying accountable and we are getting closer to visualizing that goal. And introspect, you have to look within yourself to figure out what your personal strengths and weaknesses are. Everybody who shared a little bit of information today, please know that you're not alone. Everybody struggles with this as a parent, as a student, as a wife, as a leader in your community, as a leader in an organization. But if you don't identify what these strengths and weaknesses are and work towards them, you're going to be stuck in this same cycle. If you aren't honest with yourself about what you need to improve, you are hindering your own process. The motivation, this is the part I said. And I say, it's just natural that this comes at the end. Though setting goals is easy. So everything we did right now, everything you created in your SWOT analysis, everything you created in your goals, it's easy. The hard part is sticking to them. Because we have life, because we have obligations, because we have changes and we're going through a pandemic right now, everything can change. But one of the reasons people fail is that they don't take the time to consider why a goal is so important to them. So when you create this goal, when we're done today, kind of figure out, how do I refine this? How do I make this my purpose? Take a picture of it so that it's in your phone and you can see this moving forward. Remember, it takes 21 days to create a habit, and it takes 90 days to create a lifestyle change. If you can commit to a little over 2 weeks of implementing some of the stuff that you planned or the opportunities that you've created, it's going to become a lifestyle change. Okay. Any questions? That we have come to the end of the presentation. Do we have any questions?
I have a question regarding motivation. So can we consider creating a vision board for us, for our future, or what we want to do as a motivation for us? We go back to it every time and it helps us keep going.
Correct. Yes, a vision board. So if anybody remembers in high school and maybe even junior high and elementary, they had you cut and paste things from a magazine, from a newspaper article. That's kind of like what, go ahead. That is what a vision board is. So if you want to put, if you're going to be a nurse, if you're going to be a travel nurse, if you're going to be a physical therapist, if you're going to be a teacher, a social worker, whatever you're going to be, create that vision board so you have something to look up to when you're feeling like everything is just overwhelming or you're not meeting those expectations that you've set for yourself, or when some of that negative self-talk comes into play. Your workstation, either at home or at work, should be your happy place. And so if you can put quotes on here, do that. If you have a scripture, if you have a motivational saying, if you have anything that reminds you of a happy place, put it on your phone so you know where to go to when you need that reassurance and that encouragement to move forward. Vision boards are very helpful. Staying active with maybe a church or a social group on campus can also help you feel more engaged and involved, especially within your discipline. So that's also another thing. So yes, vision boards can be very useful.
I have a question.
Yes, Miss Debbie.
Wait, will we have access to this PowerPoint after we're all finished here?
Look at y'all. Y'all are just like, y'all are on top of it. So that takes us into our next slide, Miss Debbie. I am going to be emailing the PowerPoint and a link to the recording. Hopefully, I upload it into YouTube, and sometimes it can take up to a day. So it just depends on the speed. But hopefully by the end of the day, but if not by tomorrow, you'll receive a copy of the PDF PowerPoint. You'll receive a link to this recording. You'll also receive a link to the survey. So I would really appreciate you looking out for those things and just taking a few minutes to fill out the survey. So yes, you will have access to that, Miss Debbie. We also have some workshops that are coming up. We have a couple of more on February the 23rd. All of our presentations, our workshops are virtual, and they're at 12 o'clock. Is going to be Discover Your Learning Style. We're going to talk to you students about what your learning style is and how to use that. Self-care for college students. So if we're struggling with how to make time for ourselves, that's going to come in handy. And then approaching finals with the plan. So these are definite future opportunities. Anybody who registers for the session will get the copy of the PowerPoint and the slides. So if there's a conflict within your schedule, still register and we can send you the information, okay? Well, my name is Christine Torres. I am, again, the Assistant Director for the Pioneer Center on the Houston campus. This is my contact information. If anybody would like to reach out to me, schedule an appointment, you can do that at our website. You'll go to the TWU website and you will search academic coaching. We have 2 academic coaches at the time. You can select an appointment with myself or with our other coach. I'm going to stop the recording now.
Thank you so much. This was very helpful to me.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad that you had an opportunity to express yourself and to get some takeaway from today.
Thank you. Thank you. Now I have to go and do my other agendas, my other tasks. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Have a good day, everyone.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So the one-on-one sessions, I'm signed up with you for like February 2nd.
Okay.
How would it vary from these different, from these conferences that you're having right now?
It would be more individual. So it gives us an opportunity to kind of talk about more things on a personal level. We talk about just whatever you filled out, Natasha, on that intake form. We will target those specific things to give you those resources that you might need for them. So, our workshops, like right now, we're not going to cover note taking. We're not going to cover reading, skimming, like smaller techniques like that we can show you on an individual one-on-one academic coaching session. So it just really depends on what your needs are. If through the workshops you can kind of get that or supplement one with the other, you're more than welcome to, stick with what works best for you.
Sounds good. Thank you.
You're welcome.